2 paths down, 2 to go. Feeling inspired by Brendan Fraser, Hero decides it's time for us to head on over to Mummy Desert. Now, as much as I'd love to just jump straight into action, I'm going to have to take this first 30-second cycle to grind, because even the basic enemies in this stage are strong enough to kick your low-level ass. Notice how after only like 3 battles, I'm already almost down to a quarter of my health. It's just easier to get this all out of the way now, rather than fighting for my survival as I'm trying to get through the stage. Well, that was exciting. Time to see what this stage has in store for us today. Already we're seeing hints of a new party member in this stage. I know I keep saying how much I love getting new party members, and yet we never really deal with them for more than 20 seconds at a time. But trust me, there is a reason getting party members is great aside from their minor help in the stage you're in. And speaking of party members, there he is. Not too hard to find, but of course, we're going to have to do something before he'll join us. Find the Evil Lord's castle? Well, I was going to have to do that anyway, so it's not like we're going out of our way to recruit him. Finding the castle, however, will take a little cunning. We're told there's a scholar that knows a lot about the desert, so maybe he knows what's up. The Evil Lord has apparently taken a class from Lieutenant Surge of Pokemon fame, because there's 2 metaphorical switches we need to flip to reveal his castle. Except by switches I mean monuments, and by flip I mean examine, and unlike Surge's gym, we don't need to hit both switches back to back, and they're not right next to each other, and they're always in the same place each time. Okay, so maybe that analogy wasn't the greatest, but you see where I'm getting with that. With both the clues we need, I'd say we're well equipped to finding this castle. But first, what happens if we pick the wrong monument? No great threat. Good to know. Anyway, the right 2 that we need to pick are the bottom left and the far right. Easy enough. Let's go pick up Dain and get this show on the road. so it definitely wasn't obvious in the opening cinematic, if you can call that a cinematic. But the Evil Lord's castle in this stage moves around each of those patches of sand and the grass. There must be a way to stop it, but I'm going to have to ask around for clues as to how. Ain't nothing here but an herb and an overpriced shield. One thing to note about this stage is that, although the movement of the castle doesn't always follow a pattern, it does at least follow the same path every time you play the stage, which means if you know where it's going to be, you can just hop right into it. However, I'm definitely not strong enough to take him on, so I'll have to come back later. Fun fact, if I was in the castle as it moved around, I would be moved with it. Kind of a way of pseudo-transportation that's totally risky and not worth it in any way, so don't even bother trying. Another thing I should note is that even if I did just run into the castle without stopping it and beating the Evil Lord senseless, the end of stage dialogue doesn't change in the slightest. All you get out of it is a title, just in case if you were wondering whether or not I was going to show it off later, because I'm not. Simple enough. Now let's go manhandle that tornado. Good God, this stage is boring. Just by looking at the minimap, you would think this is a big stage, but it isn't. The Evil Lord is hiding behind a giant rock, and if there's anything we've learned from the Powers of the Ancient Devil path, the final stage of that route, it's that in order to deal with giant rocks, we need bombs. However, the miners that have the bombs are nowhere to be found. There are 4 caves they could be potentially hiding in, but only one of them is the right one. The other 4 contain nothing but monsters, with no benefit in beating them. Not even exciting monsters. There's one, unique in the sense that this is the only stage you can fight one in, but I don't even show it off until the end of the stage is done because, honestly, that monster is so uninspiring I had entirely forgotten about it until then. With Jeff Gerstmann on our side, we've essentially beaten the stage already. The Evil Lord is so weak that we don't even need to properly train to beat him. So, let's just bust the wall he's hiding behind and take him down. And of course, the rare monster. You need to use a bomb to kill it, but otherwise, it's nothing to write home about. I suppose this is the first time the Bandit Trio has indirectly caused the spell of destruction. Every time up to this point was just them getting in the way for the sake of getting in the way. But by stealing this Grail, they've revived the Evil Lord. If beating the snot out of them wasn't already my favorite pastime at this point, I'd have actual incentive to be hunting them down. Well, she didn't exactly tell me anything I couldn't piece together from the opening lines of the stage, but at least she told us where we can get better info, I guess. The Bandit Trio are meeting up at dusk, but let's see if we can't fuck up their plans before then, shall we? Each of these swamps contains one member of the trio, and one of them has to have the Grail, right? Now that can't be the Grail. Looks pretty bland. I'm sure one of the other trio members has the real one, so the hunt is still on. Again, there's no way that can be the right one. Only other bandit is Larry, and I guess it makes sense that the leader of the group would be the one to have the true Grail, right? Now that's more like it. Looks like it's made of solid gold. Truly a cup fit for the title of Holy Grail. Since we have all three Grails at once, just attempting to purify it will automatically use the right one, so we don't have to worry about whether or not we have the wrong Grail. You know, I still don't feel like the Bandit Trio has learned their lesson. Someone said they were meeting up at dusk, right? If we hadn't beaten all of the Bandit Trio before that, beating them on their boat would net us all of the Grails at once. However, since I already have all the Grails, we get this trendy bandana instead. One thing I do want to note before the end of the stage is that, no, you can't beat it without the Grail. If you try to beat the Undead Queen without the Grail, there's barely any dialogue difference, and then the game just ends. No silly picture or anything. Just trying to save time on this episode, but I decided not to show it off.